This is Dr. Lindsay. And in this video, we're going to be going over the handout for aggregate demand, aggregate supply, the practice. So first, suppose the economy is at potential GDP, meaning we are at or on the edge of the PPF, the production possibility frontier, production possibility curve. And that's where we're going to be in the long run. So I've drawn here inflation on the vertical axis, output, real GDP here on the horizontal axis, which we symbol with big capital Y. We've got a long run aggregate supply curve that's vertical at potential output, a short run aggregate supply curve that is much flatter, something other than being vertical. It might be perfectly flat in the very, very short run, or it might be upward sloping. It's hard to say. We've got a downward sloping aggregate demand curve. And so in equilibrium here, the state of the economy is right there at potential output and at some level of inflation. I'll just call it inflation, superscript star. Now, suppose people decide to increase their spending because home prices rise. So home prices go up for whatever reason, and people feel wealthier. And there's this wealth effect. The more wealth people have, the more they start spending. So that would make consumption spending go up, which makes aggregate demand go up, because aggregate demand, a lot of aggregate demand is consumption spending. Aggregate demand increases, and we get a new aggregate demand curve that shifts out here to the right. So what's going to happen? We assume we get to the short run equilibrium fairly quickly, and we get to a new equilibrium right here. We'll call that point B, first one point A. We get to point B fairly quickly, and you can see that output is going to go up. It's actually going to be beyond full employment, outside the PPF. And what happens to the unemployment rate? It drops. So outside the PPF would be something like maybe 3.5 or 3. It's not sustainable in the long run to be outside the PPF, but it's possible for short-term in equilibrium temporarily. So inflation goes up a little bit here, depending once again on how steep that short-run aggregate supply curve is. Gives us a new equilibrium. What's going to happen in the long run? Well, if the aggregate demand curve doesn't shift back by itself, that's possible. Maybe home prices stabilize or they drop. In that case, the aggregate demand curve might shift back to the left. We go back to point A, back to the old inflation rate and potential. But let's assume it doesn't. Let's assume that aggregate demand goes up and just stays there. It's a permanent shock to the economy. Well, the long run equilibrium is going to be right here at point C, because in the long run, we are going to be, once again, at potential output on the edge of the PPF. Going beyond it is not sustainable. And at point C, the inflation rate would be even higher.